under 13 girls soccer game today. Late in the game, white team has a corner kick, and the coach yells over and calls for a set piece or a set play for the team. So it's one that I've seen several teams use before. I saw a good under 18 girls team score with the same play. Basically, it's a short corner kick that multiple players, typically two players, are going to make dummy runs, let the ball go through their legs. So the first player makes a dummy run, let it run through her legs. Second player lets it run through her legs, and then the third player takes a shot on goal and or crosses the ball. So under 13s trying to do the same thing. Ball goes through the first girl's legs barely, and then the second player never even gets to the ball because the field was a terrible field, bumpy, high grass, and then the player taking the corner kick just didn't kick the ball hard enough. So the ball was dying as it got to the first player, and didn't even make it to the second player. And so what this showed me, was the lack of flexibility in the players. So the coach called a play, and the players were going to run that play regardless of whether or not it had an opportunity to work. So when the ball got to the first player, she should have realized that it didn't have enough power behind it to make it to a second player or a third player. She should have recognized that the ball was barely going to make it to her. She also could have recognized that if she looked, nobody was really on her. And she was the fastest, probably second best player on the field, and was already in the penalty area where she could have had a legitimate shot on goal, or at the worst, taken maybe one dribble and crossed the ball or shot on goal. So she was in position already. Nobody was really on her, so there was not a need for that dummy run. It was just a play that they were trying to run. So this happens in basketball all the time. Players or coaches, call out a play, and they, you enter the ball and you start to run the play, and a player has an opening or a small advantage, but they don't recognize that advantage because their representations or their how they think about things, are inflexible. They're determined to run the play all the way through, rather than using the play as something to get them started and something to create a good shot. So they're inflexible in how they're going to maneuver in that possession. They're determined, if the play goes A to B to C to D to E, they're determined to run that play all the way through to E, even if the pass to A would lead to a wide open shot, or maybe a wide open lane to the basket. So there's no reason to go on to B, C, D, and E because you already have the advantage created. And so again, I think this is the danger with youth teams and running plays. I use plays, so I don't think it's completely wrong to use a play. But I do think there is that danger that players stop thinking and simply follow directions. So they no longer look for advantages. They no longer look to attack, and they're not thinking the game. Instead, they're following directions, they're running the play. And so from a developmental perspective, these plays can interfere with learning, especially when they become all-encompassing. So, a team's running a play every single possession. Then players are never given that opportunity to, just play, and look for advantages, look to take advantage of situations, look to create small advantages, look to turn small advantages into big advantages, and so forth. So again, the danger is that players stop thinking, and when they stop thinking, when they stop looking to make these plays or to use these advantages, they're not learning on the court. All they're doing is repeating, the directions that a coach has given them and a pattern of movement that a coach has prescribed during practice. And teams can look very organized doing this. They can look well coached because players do exactly what they're told, and they go A to B to C to D and E. And if they practice it enough, and defense, makes a mistake, they get the shot that they want, and the coach looks like a genius, looks well organized, but the players aren't really learning. They're learning how to run that play, but they're not learning skills. They're not learning tactics that they can into a different play, or onto a different team. They're not learning to think the game. And so it's not always bad, but as coaches, especially at the developmental level, one of the things that we want to do is to teach players how to think the game, how to turn small advantages into big advantages. And when we're making them run plays every single time, we're taking away those opportunities. So we need to have a balance between, a set play and just letting players play and create and make plays and look for opportunities and look for advantages and trying to exploit those advantages.